Everybody, hopefully you can hear me. We're going to get the November meeting of ANC 1A moving. The time is 7:06, and I will bring this meeting to order. So, generally we start the meeting with community announcements. I know sometimes commissioners are running a little late, but I think tonight this is probably assembly we're going to have, and I know it's cold, but it gives people a little bit more time to show up. We usually start with announcements from commissioners. I have a few, and while we're sharing out our comments, if anyone in the community has something they'd like to share, we also have a microphone to my left, your right. Feel free to line up there so that you can share your news with us as well. Some of the things that I have that I'd like people to be aware of. Tomorrow, if anyone happens to be in the community from 1 to 3, and you're interested in the 16th Street, let's see, I think it's the bus lane project. They have a meeting at the Mount Pleasant Library from 1 to 3 tomorrow. Pardon? Oh, you did not know? Yeah, no, I just got a phone call earlier today. So for those who are interested in the 16th Street Bus Lanes project, feel free to go to Mount Pleasant Library. The other thing I want people to be aware of, and we don't have a date set yet, so that will have to be something that will be announced on the listservs in various other ways coming up. But the development team who has been selected to renovate the Hebrew Home building on Spring Road will be having a community meeting / workshop probably the first or second week of December. Right now, they don't have the date set because they're trying to secure a date from Raymond Rec Center, which is right there next to the community. So that meeting will either be in the evening or on a Saturday, but not during work hours. The last announcement I have is to let people know about the vacant ANC 1A seat. As I understand it, the announcement will go out in the DC Register, I think, next week, which will then allow people to pick up nominating petitions at the Board of Elections. I will ask the Board of Elections to notify me personally so that we can send that out on the listservs as well. We would like that seat filled, and so that every resident in our community has a representative. That said, are there any other commissioners with announcements? Go ahead, Dottie.
I was just going to point out that there will be a Mount Pleasant Holiday Bazaar and Tree Sale on December 3rd. The proceeds will go to benefit Bancroft Elementary School. That'll start at 10 a.m. and go till 4. There will be food, Santa Claus, trees, and lots of fun for your kids and your families, and even if you don't have families. Oh, thank you. That'll be along Mount Pleasant Street from Lomont Park to McCormick Paints.
Well, as everyone knows, the construction is in full swing on Harvard, Columbia, and Girard Streets Northwest. Be very careful as you traverse those areas. There's bound to be blocked traffic. Try to find alternative routes and bear with us while we upgrade the water services for our city. Secondly, I've been in contact by one of my young constituents. I think she's a student at middle school. I don't think they call it junior high anymore. Middle school. And her concern was about the safety of the sidewalks and the tripping hazards that they present in our single-member district. I've been in touch with Councilmember Brianne Nadeau's office, and one of her staff will give us a report on that tonight. But I just wanted you to know that if you do see any such tripping hazards, breaking sidewalks, streets, tree roots protruding out into the sidewalk or the streets, just let one of your ANC commissioners know, or give Councilmember Nadeau's office a call. Robert will give a better report on that today.
Follow up on what you just said, Commissioner Wade. I have, with regards to sidewalks, I have had a remarkably quick turnaround with success since the last meeting when Gail Cohn was here from the Office of Aging, or not the Office of Aging, but the DC Age Friendly, yeah. I thought it was interesting that last Thursday I reported a broken sidewalk and a street problem on Thursday about 9 a.m. And by Friday at 11 a.m. they replaced the sidewalk. Also including her on the email to DDOT, you may notice that the 1200 block of Park Road is now all marked up for sidewalk replacements, and that block is horrible as far as tripping hazards. So, last month we had Gail Cohn here, and she's a strong advocate for making sure that our sidewalks are age-friendly for everyone who uses them. And actually, from that presentation and in starting to include her, it's really helped prioritize needs. So keep her on those emails too. So now we can move to Ms. Dornbush.
Good evening, Commission. Good evening, neighbors. I'm Brianne Dornbush. I'm the Executive Director of District Bridges. We are the Columbia Heights, Mount Pleasant, and now Lower Georgia Avenue Main Street program. So we serve the community by creating opportunities for neighbors to meet and engage, and then we also support small local businesses. So if you're a small business owner or you're a resident, we're the organization that wants to connect with you. We have some really fun, exciting things coming up in the month of December. So our annual tree lighting, this will be our 7th annual tree lighting. It happens over in Columbia Heights Plaza. It's actually called the Tree Lighting Extravaganza. It's very exciting.
Could you do that again?
Extravaganza! So I like to say that every year. That we do free hot cocoa, candy canes, Santa Claus might even come. It's just a great community event. Following the event, we're having happy holiday hours throughout our 5 neighborhoods. So Petworth, Parkview, Pleasant Plains, Columbia Heights, and Mount Pleasant. So there'll be awesome specials at local businesses, fun activities. So it's just gonna be a really great night. The following night, Saturday, December 2nd, will be our 2nd annual gala. It will be hosted at All Souls Unitarian Church in their Pierce Hall. It is a ticketed event, but it is a great night. There will be a Taste of Community menu that will feature different local restaurants. We'll have a silent auction with different experiences and items from our community. So it's just going to be a really great night, and that fundraiser helps us support the continued efforts that we are doing here in this community. So if you guys want to get involved by volunteering or we have neighborhood strategy councils, there's lots of ways to get involved. Or if you're a business owner, you can visit our website at districtbridges.org, and you can get all of our social media and everything from there. So I hope to see you guys in December.
You will.
Good evening, my name is Bob Schlehuber. I recently moved into the neighborhood. I live at 1120 Lamont Street, Northwest. Thank you for having this meeting and for everyone to be here. Just a few quick announcements that I would love to tell you more about after the meeting with full details if you're interested. Tomorrow evening, November 9th, there's a training with the NEAR Act if you want to be a public ambassador. The NEAR Act is a public health approach towards reducing violent crime in Washington, D.C. at 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Petworth Library. I'll tell you more about that afterwards. On November 11th, on Saturday, there's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The MLK Peace Walk and Holiday Parade planning meeting in Southeast Washington, D.C. on the holiday. There's a peace walk and parade. It will be the 12th annual holiday. I'd love to tell you guys more about that. And finally, I work with Mosaic Theater. We have a new show called Vicuña and the American Epilogue that just opened. I would love to host anybody that would like to come see the show over the next few weeks, and I have flyers for that. Finally, I happen to be in the unfilled ANC 1806 neighborhood. If anybody else is interested in that or wants to talk about that or make sure it gets filled, I would also love to talk about that. So thank you again, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Hello, commissioners, and hello, community. My name is John Hilligus. I work for Councilmember Nadeau. If you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions, I'm always available. You can get my contact information afterwards. I'm going to be working with Commissioner Love Wade to look into the sidewalk on the 1100 block of Harvard. And one thing I wanted to let you know, the Bruce Monroe site, there's going to be some digging for their soil samples, so you might see equipment there. It's not the construction starting, but it's the digging for the soil samples. Just to let you know in case you see weird things happening over there. Thank you, John. I imagine we're going to hear more about that now.
Yes, I'm Amy McHale from the Deputy Mayor's Office for Planning and Economic Development, here to talk about the weird digging that you might see over at Bruce Monroe Park. I'm sure many of you here, and I know all of you commissioners know that the Park Morton redevelopment plan intends to use 60% of what is now the Bruce Monroe Park as the redevelopment site. As part of that work, they're going to be doing some pre-development activities, so they have to check soils. They are going to be starting that work next week. There is a flyer that talks in the background that I've asked Commissioner Bass to send along the website. It will be posted around Bruce Monroe Park. The mokers will be probably door knocking. Basic information, I can read it off to you right now. The purpose of the work, again, is just to get a feeling of what the site conditions are in the site, because there will be buildings there ultimately. The duration, they're going to be starting on Tuesday, the 14th of next week, and they will be concluding on Wednesday, the 22nd. They will be doing some work on Saturday, the 17th. The hours of operation will be between 7 and 8 a.m. They're going to be, there is a map that will, if you use the park and you're very interested in what's going on, there is a map on the back of the flyer that indicates the areas where they will be doing the drill sites. Essentially, there's going to be a big piece of equipment that's going to dig a deep hole. They're going to do 4 of them a day. At the conclusion of that work, they will refill the holes, and if it's on grass, it will have grass on top of it. If it's in the asphalt, the asphalt will be patched. It's just going to last a week. There's going to be no long-term disturbance to the park. It's just one of the studies that must occur before we finalize design. Any questions from the commission?
So do you know that construction equipment is currently on that site?
That construction equipment that is presently on that site is private. There's a row house that's being developed, so it has nothing to do with the District of Columbia. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Hi everyone, my name is Jordana Moran. I've never been to an ANC meeting before, so I apologize if this is not the right venue or format. I had emailed with several of the commissioners about a cleanup day event that I would like to organize. A little bit of myself really quick. I've been an ANC 1A resident for 7 years, and I just recently started working at an organization called Ocean Conservancy. One of our big initiatives is the International Coastal Cleanup. We had a huge event in September on Kingman Island. More than 500 people showed up to pick up thousands and thousands of pounds of trash from along the Anacostia River. In my 3 months at Ocean Conservancy, I've learned that trash is a huge problem. And unfortunately, because most of it is plastic, it never goes away. And I've also learned since then that a lot of the top 10 items that we find every year around the world, straws, food packaging, candy wrappers, water bottles, you can't walk through our neighborhood streets and not see those items. They are everywhere, and once you're aware of it, you realize how big the problem is. There are lots of small community cleanups that are going on every weekend almost, which is awesome, and I've gone to one, and I'd like to keep going, and I encourage all of you to keep going. But I do want to sort of come up with a big statement on behalf of the entire community through a single large cleanup. I'm going to have, I only printed 15, I had no idea how many people showed up to these things. But I'll pass around a sign-up sheet. For those who are interested in helping me do this, I have a little proposal on the sheet. I'm thinking, and I'm totally open to others' ideas, and I'd love to hear if you guys have questions or suggestions. The day before Earth Day, which is, so it would be Saturday, April 21st. That gives us several months to advertise, build up interest, build up momentum. And you know, from there, I think the sky's the limit. I mean, it doesn't have to just be ANC 1A. It could be district-wide. So I hope that you join me and fellow neighbors in beautifying our streets and protecting the larger environment, because trash travels, it gets into the rivers and then into the oceans, and it doesn't go anywhere from there. So thank you.
Thanks. I have a couple of questions, if I may. Okay, go ahead. I'll let Commissioner Miller go first.
Hi, Jordana. I think we spoke via email.
Yes.
And I just wanted to point out, and I can't remember if I emailed you this, so I apologize, but DPR does have a Helping Hands program where they will provide shovels, brooms, trash bags, and then they will schedule pickups at several different sites. So I think of, you know, I've always used it on a smaller scale, but I think especially as you're looking at collecting a lot of trash, we really want to make sure that it's picked up in a timely fashion. And I would also point out District Bridges does this very frequently, so I think Brianne Dornbush, coordinating with her efforts would be a really great idea. I applaud the initiative, I'm excited, and you will be visiting my S&D, I hope.
Yes, definitely. And you'll see I have a list of proposed next steps. I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I want this to be a group, you know, community activity. Like I said, I know there's a lot of you already working on this issue. The purpose of making it a single day, larger event is really to kind of, you know, change hearts and minds, is to, you know, show that this is a lot of people who care, and you should feel guilty if you're littering, basically is what I hope, you know, the message is.
Well, what I was going to say is you definitely want the card of Sarah, who's standing behind you, because as our moker, she would be one of your key contacts to get in with the shovels and the trash bags and the gloves. I'm kind of curious, what is your focus area? Is it 14th Street? Is it 11th Street? Would it be as far east as Georgia Avenue? Because 1A covers a lot of territory, and depending upon where your focus is, it could be District Bridges, it could be Georgia Avenue Thrive. So we have a lot of good organizations that are already trying to do some of this, and by you partnering with them, you could just help the efforts already underway to be so much more effective.
Yes, totally. So I've done a little bit of research. I mean, obviously we have 12 sub-commissions. Again, this is my first meeting, I apologize. So we have 12 of those, and I think, you know, one approach could be dividing and conquering, you know, setting up maybe a steering committee or having one organization in each of these locations be the team lead. Again, the idea is not to take anything over, it's to just do it all on the same day to raise the visibility of this issue and make a statement, a community statement, again, that this matters. You shouldn't, you know, throwing something on the ground, someone is going to have to pick it up, you know, it just doesn't disappear. So that's sort of the idea, and I definitely look forward to working with and tapping into the networks and all that of people who are already working on this.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right, I'll leave stuff in the back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, y'all. So my name is Sarah Molina. I'm the Mocha Forward 1, as Commissioner Kent mentioned. Were you going to say something?
Well, we were just going to say, Commissioner Wade would like one of the flyers that you mentioned, if you have one. Or if a couple commissioners can have them, that would help make the connection as well.
I can email that to you.
In Spanish.
I did that. I think flyers just proposals.
Okay.
Like I said, I didn't know what to expect. On the back,
well, while you're handing that out, we'll go back to Syra. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I also brought with me Romney, which he is the community outreach assistant for Ward 1 and 2. So if for some reason you can't get in touch with Shaneda and I, or me that I cover this area, then Romney is the contact person. He's right there. So fun things, Alley-Palooza 6 has started. If your alley is being done, then you probably got a notification on the letter. But if you want to find out if your alley is being done, you can go to DDOT to find out, and they have a list of all the alleys. I can tell you that right off the back of my head, I know one alley in ANC 1A that is on it that I actually put on is between Harvard and Columbia Road. I know for years I've lived in ANC 1A, and I walked through those alleys, and that alley has been messed up for years, so I made sure that that alley was on the list. I'm working on a few others that have been highlighted or flagged to me. There are other too in the ANC 1A, so if you want to find out if your alley is being done, then go to DDOT and they'll have the information. So as you know, Kids Ride for Free program that allows kids to ride metro or buses for free. They have to activate the car, and I believe metro staff is going around schools making sure that kids are activating their card. The 311 app, you can text, you can use the app, or you can go online to report issues in your neighborhood. If you feel like it's not really working for you, then still it's always helpful for you to put in the 311 request and then follow up with us so that we can put pressure on the agencies to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And the way we do it is we let them know that the constituent actually put a 311 request this day and it hasn't been done, or why it's closed, or when not. So that's how we help out. The private security camera incentive program, which helps MPD do their job. If there's a crime that happens in front of your house and you have the camera, then MPD has that footage. So then you can also with this program, you can get a little bit of the money that you spent purchasing the cameras refunded back to you. And you can get this information on the newsletter. There's a flyer in here. There's a 311 flyer in the newsletter as well. So Every Day Counts is the mayor's initiative, which Romney has a few pledges if you'd like to fill it out and sign it, and we can collect it at the end. But it's basically to make sure that we are letting our students know that school is important and they need to stay in school. And this is kind of like a promise telling us that you'll work with DC Gov to make sure that kids are going to school every day. And you can also sign the form under dcforms.dc.gov. Make sure you put Ward 1, okay, because we have a competition. Who gets the most? And then fall is here. So what does that mean? It means a lot of leaves, right? So the leaf collection has started, and I have inside the newsletter in the back, there's this flyer that tells you when the pickup day is, like for Ward 1 specifically, in the areas, the maps, and where they're going to be picking up the leaf. Then they have open enrollment for DC Health Link that started November 1st. The kickoff was right here in Carlos Rosario, but I have a flyer with all the information. Please, 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 maybe you don't need it, but somebody else might need it. Pass this along. Everyone should be insured. And then DPR winter program open their fall programs. November 6th. So if you are interested in taking any classes or any programs with DPR, go online and you'll find out what programs they have. And then Safe at Home, which is also on the newsletter, which is for seniors and adults with disability. There's a lot of things that you can take advantage of that they'll help you make sure that you're safe at home. also like I can also help with sidewalks and alleys and streets. I myself go in the neighborhood every Tuesday and Thursday and see which alleys and streets and all that need to be repaired. I was actually out last week and I sent out a list of the top 10 alleys, sidewalks, and streets to be repaired. I know some of them are under construction or have things going on like DC Water, so they're going to be held back a little bit, but that's one of my priorities, making sure we're able to walk, drive, and kids are able to play in the streets, alleys, and whatnot. So you can also follow up with me or whatever you feel comfortable with. And I'll be here the whole meeting, so if you want my contact information, you can just come and ask me.
We have a couple of questions here. I want to take the first bite at the apple because it kind of relates to the last thing you said. Was it 2 months ago we officially went on record as prioritizing Columbia Road as needing to be repaired, which is awful?
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm just wondering if you can share with us if it's also a high priority based on your observations. And I understand there may be some water work on part of it, but we would really like to know if it's...
Yeah, and I spoke about this with Commissioner Zach. I don't want to mispronounce your last name.
Check, but also it's also in...
Yeah, and Commissioner Wade as well. So it's a high priority for me as well because I live in the neighborhood. And for years, I'm like, oh my God, who's in charge of this? Before I started working for DC Gov, guess what? We're in charge. So, but it's a high priority. As soon as I got into office, I'm like, this needs to be fixed. However, DC Water is doing some work on that block, and it looks like, I went by today, and it looks like they're actually also repairing the road. And I'm crossing my fingers that the whole road will be repaired now. So then,
They're not doing the 1400 block at all.
But so not that block. They're doing between 13th and 14th, right?
But it's only going to be temporary. It's not going to be the kind of resurfacing that
We need.
Columbia Road needs to start at Park Place
Yeah. So
and all the way to 16th Street.
Yeah.
That's 180 is
so in my list that I sent out to DDOT for the streets, from 14th and 16th, that road is on the list. And I took pictures with Commissioner Zach, and I've been flagging it. So I'm like hoping and praying that because we sent this list, that it's going to be a high priority because I put it as number 1. So my plan is if once DC Water is done with Columbia Road and Harvard and even Irvin, then I will put those streets as a flag to DDOT because right now they can't do anything because they're there and they're gonna, if they come in, fix it, and DC Water then comes and breaks it, what's the point of that? That's waste of resources. So I'm waiting for it to be done, and then, but I'm keeping my eye. Trust me, I'm like there every day.
I appreciate that because it wouldn't make sense to repair it and have it ripped
Right.
back up. But and I think we put it into the ANC resolution portal that we've been encouraged to use, but we have documentation formally requesting it if that helps you.
Yeah, if you can send it to me, I will send it along and I'll flag it again.
Okay. And then the other thing I'd like to say too, though, is I think just approaching it like any other street for repair would be wrong. This has, I think, 4 different bus lines and a circulator, and it's one of the few east-west, and so it gets traveled a lot, and not just by cars, but by some very heavy vehicles. And I think that's why it never holds up. So
Yeah.
It's not. It needs
It needs love.
significant infrastructure. It's not just a simple patch.
It's just not Columbia Road.
It's Harvard.
I sat on my front for several days, and without faith, the private charter buses are wreaking havoc on our streets that no one is aware of.
what I can do and what we can pair up and do is have DDOT fill out a form so that DDOT can start an investigation on traffic. So we can start there and then move, move to the other steps. But definitely we can do that if you want. But I do have the street repairs on my radar because they're a high priority to me as DC government and also as a resident of ANC Winter.
Yeah.
My question is about the leaf collection.
Yeah.
So the street sweeping is over,
Yes,
and so people can park on
both sides.
both sides every day.
Well, DC parking is difficult, but
I'm talking about during the times we had 6:30 p.m. and they pushed it back to 7 p.m. and we tried to straighten that out.
we changed
But
it.
from that time until 7 a.m., we can park on both sides of the street.
Right.
People don't have to move their cars.
You don't have to move your cars Mondays and Tuesdays anymore.
So let me ask the question then, why ended in October when we're going to be doing all the leaf collecting in November? It would appear that they would extend it for a few weeks during, to take care of all the leaves, because now, just pushing in between cars, that doesn't work very well on a street such as mine.
Yeah, so street cleaning is for trash and other debris on the streets. Leaf collection, the street, the sweeps, I don't know how it works, but it's always been like this where it stops when fall starts. The leaves that fall on your yard and in front of your house, it's your responsibility to pick up. Just like if there's debris, trash in front of your yard on the tree boxes or help me out,
The green space.
the green space in front of your house. You're responsible as a homeowner, as a resident of the area, for you to come pick it up and clean it up. So the leaves that fall there, you would have to pick it up and on your yard too, and then you can put it in a bag. And they have 4 different locations where DPW will be picking up leaves at, and that's where you can drop them off.
People don't do that. They sweep them out to the street, which they've been doing for.
And it's still their responsibility. So they would probably get, if you sweep it off to the street, it's still your responsibility, so you will get probably a fine by DPW.
So what are they collecting? Leaves that residents have already bagged, they don't use that little thing anymore?
We do.
Well, she said you put it out in the street.
Well-
No, like just out on the street, then, you have to put it in a bag.
Well, no, according to the brochure, you don't have to bag it, but you're not supposed to put it in the street. You're supposed to put it on the curb, the green tree box area.
As long as it's, compiled in one, not just like all over the place.
Okay, because that needs to be made clear.
Yeah, so that brings me, thank you for that. I also forgot. So, also I brought this brochure, which is in the back, from DPW it says for new residents, but this is actually helpful, and I've been living in here for so long that I didn't know some of these services. But it gives you all the information and all the services DPW has, including leaf removal and pickup. So it's in the back. It gives you information about sanitation service, seasonal service, parking enforcement, sweep enforcement, everything. So if you have questions, you can refer to this, or you can go to the DPW website and you'll find information. But I did bring the maps where they're going to be collecting the leaves. So.
I have 2 statements. They're not questions, so you don't need to respond unless you want to. but the one is that the leaf collection brochures that went out, they also include information, I believe, on Christmas tree or holiday tree or whatever you want collection. Please pay attention to that as well. And then the other thing is more of a plea to those who are here. If you live on a block where there's a senior with limited mobility, or if you know of anyone in your community, please consider reaching out to them to help them rake their leaves. We love our trees, but they do make a mess in the fall, and not everyone who lives in the community has the ability to take care of their leaves. So, yeah, just consider being neighborly.
Yeah, and it's also on the listservs. I think DPW sent it out on the listserv, the map and the brochure that Commissioner Kent is speaking of. Any other questions? You guys went hard on me today.
No, thank you.
No, I'm playing. Okay.
Thanks. Oh. I think that's someone else. Right. So we will now move on to committee reports. Commissioner Miller, I see you have an education committee. Thank you.
Hi, so our education committee is back on. We took the summer off. There wasn't a whole lot going on. So last month we spent most of our meeting just catching up on the few incidences that occurred, mainly looking at the DGS field and usage and communication between their office and our schools, school leadership, etc. And we then laid the groundwork for this month's conversation, which was, believe it or not, fiscal year 19 budget, which is already in play. If you'll recall, last school year, so last spring, this commission did pass a resolution supporting the uniform per student funding formula, which increased the rate of funding per student from 1.5%, and we had requested 3.5%. We ended up with 3%, so it was a good win. But there were many other funding issues that we were not able to address, and that's sort of what we took a look at this past meeting. At the broader picture, again, UPSFF will always be on the table. We always need more money for our students, and not because we want to throw money at a problem, but because these funds have the potential, especially the weighted components, to really make a difference and achieve equity in schools, especially where parents don't necessarily have the means to supplement what our schools are not able to provide. Other issues, sort of in the broad picture, and of particular relevance to 1A schools, Tubman and Bruce Monroe at Parkview, are looking at the facility assessments, looking at the modernization and phase 1 funding. We actually were not able to have a meaningful discussion on these particular issues because I'm waiting for several reports to come out of DGS. Most important and most relevant is the facility conditions assessment, which is an annual look at the conditions of the school. It's a third-party assessment, and something that we will need to look at where our schools currently stand. There's also a master facility plan that's in process of the 10-year cycle is due. That's not coming out until this spring. It was originally slated for mid-December. So some of these items we had to put on hold until pending these reports. Another thing what our committee was able to look at, and something that we wanted to focus on for this meeting in particular, is looking at how some of our specific programs and offices were funded in the fiscal year 18. For example, OSSI's early childhood and early intervention funding, which was given a one-time amount. I want to say it was about $300,000. And to be honest, initially it was less than that. It was something that we had to fight to get the money back.